you're really here for yourself and to what you're going to get out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think with meetings like this, it's great to really search for the gold. And like it's something that she just said, like it's easy to like, yeah, that's cool idea, but really be present with whatever people share, and you'll get out of meetings like this so much more if you're like really present with what's presented or the people around you, instead of thinking like, I know this, or I heard that before, or whatever, or same joke from Joe, or whatever. It's I think presence with meetings like this is everything.
Genius Network means different things to different people, correct?
Yep.
And that if everybody's talking about something different, it means something different to them, it's probably confusing.
Yep.
And if it could be clear and everyone understood what Genius Network did from them, they could actually get more out of it.
Yep.
And if they got more out of it, they'd stick around longer, they'd be more valuable, and we could actually be more valuable to the community. So if we actually took a few minutes and actually figured out what we were actually doing here and used the language to explain it correctly to ourselves and others, we could be valuable to each other.
Right. Cherie gave me this magic wand. Is this like one of these Harry Potter things you bought on Amazon or something? So it's a magic wand. And when I do consulting, one of the questions I'll ask people is, if you could wave a magic wand and have 3 things happen in your business or your life, what the hell would they be? And so I'm going to ask all of you that question right now, those of you that are online and those of you that are here. Pull out your Genius Network journal or whatever the heck it is you write on. Those of you that are online, scrap a paper or digitally, however you do that. And if you could wave a magic wand and have anything happen over the next 2 days, any insight, any discovery, anything, what would it be? Because I just want you to think about that for a moment. Let's take just 2 to 3 minutes to do that. What I'm about to share, I've only gone through half of the book, read half the book so far. I'm not an expert on the DISC profile system at all. How many of you are knowledgeable on DISC? Okay, then all of you know a hell of a lot more than I do. So while I was on a 3-week trip with me and Cherie were in Malaysia for 3 weeks, going visiting her family, seeing where everything was. Halfway through, we're on a trip, and her father coming back from Penang to Kuala Lumpur, which is where they are living now, and where Cherie and her family, like later part in their life, they lived there, but they lived in Penang. And so we were visiting Penang, and I'll show you some pictures of me and Cherie with snakes and upside down stuff. It's crazy, it's pretty wild. We'll do that maybe later. But had to take her father to the hospital because he was having trouble breathing. Thank God Cherie's a brilliant doctor and was there. And so we ended up catching a cold. And so I am literally just on the tail end of having been sick for like over 2 weeks. It's been crazy. And while I have my Kindle, and so long flights. Has anyone ever, 30 hours of travel to get up there, 30 hours, like it's pretty intense. But like what am I bitching about? Like 50 years ago, you couldn't fly across the world in 30 hours. So that was awesome. But I have this Kindle, and so, it pops up recommended books, and it's one of these things where because I'm a marketer, I didn't pay for the extra $2 to like not have advertising, because I want to see what sort of bullshit they're going to try to put in front of me to buy. And of course, like anyone else, I'm driven by FOMO, and so and I buy 10 books for every book that I can read maybe one page of. And so this book Surrounded by Idiots pops up, and I would never typically download it. What is it called? Amazon Unlimited. So it's not, you don't even need to buy it. You can just download it, right? And I see Surrounded by Idiots, but it has over 10,000 reviews that are positive reviews. I'm like, interesting. The 4 types of human behavior and how to effectively communicate with each in business and in life. And so I download this book and I read the introduction, which is fantastic. And I know nothing about DISC. I probably did it a long time ago, but I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to learn about this stuff. And the way that the person frames it, you think, so of course my initial thing is, okay, how do I better deal with all these fucking idiots that I'm surrounded by all the time? Because that's the immediate thing you think of. So, how do you deal with people that you consider idiots? And basically what he says in the introduction is the reason you think that the other people around you are idiots is they just have a different way of behaving than you do because they probably think you're an idiot, right? And which is true. But the funny thing is, as I've read this, I've got a lot of yellow traits, which are people that are outspoken and are going to share their opinions. But what they say about yellows is they don't care about people, and that's definitely not me. In a lot of ways, I'm like a freaking codependent weirdo. Like I'm like trying to take on other people's issues that aren't even my responsibility and try to help them, which Eunice is really helping me with being less accommodating to people that always want my freaking time, and I try to provide it, and therefore I get spread too thin all the time. So I've been reading this book, and there's blues and there's greens and the people that, and it's making me understand, like, oh my God, this is why certain people on my team operate this way and how I respond to different things. But the point is like, how many of you think that your spouse thinks you're an idiot? Yeah, at times, not all the time, right? And how many of you think you're like, what the hell? And so, anyway, I would encourage you to read even if you never take the introduction of this book is such a great framing of people, and it's got over 10,000 reviews. So the way the guy writes and the way the guy takes DISC, which he's been an expert in teaching for 20-something years. He also wrote a book called Surrounded by Psychopaths and another Surrounded by. So he's got this whole surrounded by theme like really going. But I'm looking at it from the marketing angle, and and I sent messages to Ben Hardy, who doesn't like profiles because he wrote Personality Isn't Permanent. I sent a message to Kathy Colby, who's a friend of mine. What do you think of DISC? And it's funny to hear their responses because they're not like, oh, it's great. Kathy was like, it's good for party conversation and stuff like that. And so I go, does that mean you don't like it or you do? She's like, well, let's go to lunch and we'll talk about it. So, but because it might be, I don't know. How many of you find DISC to be a helpful thing? Because I don't know. Okay. And if anyone's here a total expert on DISC, please, I would love to have a brief conversation with you or schedule something at a later point in time. But Dr. Betty's whole thing just made me think about that. So, yeah, the worst thing, I asked a friend who'd been married for a long time, what's the secret of a happy marriage? Because I'll do that sort of stuff all the time, just more so for conversation. Half the time I don't even really care what they say, unless it's really, they say something, I'm like, that's pretty good. And the person said, you gotta love each other, you gotta respect each other, and you gotta be able to get along. He's like, you can respect someone and love them, but not get along. You can get along and respect them, but not love them. He's like, you gotta have all three. And I think that's actually pretty insightful. So yeah. But don't look at me for. Cherie, how does flatulence in a relationship bond a couple to each other? Like, how? No, you don't have to answer that. You don't have to answer that. All right, so Patty Ann online, let's.
I'm so blessed.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm still a very immature human, clearly. You have to pay $100,000 to not get the flatulence jokes.
Good morning, everybody. So two comments. One is about supportive spouse. So I just celebrated my 40th wedding anniversary, and everybody asked me what's the secret, and my response is don't kill each other, because if you kill each other, you can't make it to 40 years.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And along those lines, in a nutshell, don't take yourself or each other too seriously. You can keep your sense of humor. Everything else falls into it. I could go into communication. I could go on and on, but don't take yourself too seriously. It too shall pass. And in terms of the DISC joke, it's really interesting you bring that up, because I use DISC a lot in my work with businesses in the relationship piece. And I hesitated to ever bring it up at Genius because I felt like it was a Colby cult.
No.
Everybody loves Colby, but and it's interesting what you said, Ben and Kathy's response to it was, but the bottom line is all of these tests have an algorithm. It's all based on psychology. They all bring value to the table. What I love about DISC is it keeps it simple. I have some great tools to have you remember, like if you're at an elevator and you press the button and the elevator doesn't come and you're pressing, that's a D. Because the I, the elevator opens up, you're telling a conversation, you don't even know it opened up because you're so busy talking anyway.
Right.
It's all valuable, but it's simple. And having said that, you can't take anything in isolation.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I just wanted to say for what the book Betty is doing, which is I think is great. So the first book that I wrote was Not Tonight, Dear, I've Got a Business to Run. It's all about the concept of not having to make that false choice. But honestly, women usually feel more inclined to have to do. Like, you're either successful in business or you're successful in life. And that's just a false narrative. So I love what Betty's doing, so great.
Hey, and what did you write down for If You Could Wave a Magic Wand?
I don't think she was
Did
on
you ask
that.
Betty that?
No, you. Oh, she wasn't on yet?
Right.
Oh, okay.
That's fine.
Yeah, what did you put down? If you could wave a magic wand and have something happen, what would it be for you?
I wanted to get some help to find out some information for my daughter.
Okay.
Why?
I'm not sure what type of information that is, but
Oh, just, no, so with work, I see her having challenges with the people aspect, and of course, anything I would say to her would be absolutely ridiculous because I'm her mother.
Right.
That never changes. So I'm just looking to see if there's something I could have her read, that's all.
Okay. I'm just sitting there thinking, what? I'm just thinking of what sort of drugs you could give her. If I was the head of a pharmaceutical, no, I'm kidding.
She just needs to introduce her to somebody else that thinks like her.
Oh no, maybe the whole world would be better off if we took drugs.
Randy said introduces someone that thinks like her. Yeah, I mean, look, it all has these pivotal relationships or events. John Ratliff, he's talked about his daughter was having some challenges, and he literally, I set up a conversation with him and Stephen Kotler, and that led to her going and taking her windsurfing, and she completely got engaged in it, lifted her from depression because she found an activity where she could feel happy and feel good and feel connected. But anything that's going to be, every different person has a dopamine button, right? Like, what is that thing that's going to make them feel better? And oftentimes, however they get introduced to that.
Yeah, I was sort of making a joke, but I was saying you should introduce your daughter to somebody that thinks like you so she could listen to her. But at the end of the day, I have 5 kids, and it is a good strategy, honestly, to we always tried to introduce our kids to, we wanted them to get a big range of possibilities and people and opportunities, and, have them learn and grow from people because they're more willing a lot of times, depending on their ages. The older I get, the smarter I get. But,
right.
Or older they get, the smarter I get, I should say. But I think it is sometimes wise to pick people that you can trust, that you can bring in to teach your kids, be mentors with your kids, things like that. And so I think it might actually work for her. It was kind of half in jest, but I think so.
So one of your children happens to be in the room, who's now a grown woman. So what would you have to say about what was the best parental, observation, advice, or thing that you think he brought to the table? Just
that he brought to the table?
Yeah. What? Because we've all gone. I know you've done a ton of therapy of what a horrible father he was, but what's the good? Yeah, what's the good stuff?
I would say the opportunities that we had even as kids. So none of the people that I grew up with had the opportunities that we had.
Yeah.
So he would bring us to things like Genius. I remember being a little kid, like 8 years old, and we flew to Florida and went to his lawyer conference, and we're sitting there with all these lawyers, and we're the only kids in the whole place.
Wow.
So that happened over and over. Like Bonner Family Office, he brought us into family office. I ended up doing an internship in Ireland, and I got there and I'm like, oh, what do you guys normally do with your interns? They're like, we've never had an intern. They're like, the Bonner family called, it was one of their subsidiaries, the Bonner family told us that we had to do something with you.
That is.
I negotiated that over dinner in Nicaragua.
That's fantastic.
So yeah, I think and I think that was huge because like he was saying about mentors, and like that's where all my mentors and business coaches and like when I saw the world in a bigger way, and I saw the opportunities and the things that you could be, because I just was exposed to so many things. So I think exposing your kids to you guys have so many, you can do that. Like this is a group of people that can do that, that have the opportunities to do that. And so, introducing into people like Don and Wood and, just from all the categories, not just one.
Yeah.
So I think that was the coolest part too, is it's not just real estate or business or, to really have a whole expanded. So when something happens, I knew there was a person I could ask, even if it wasn't him, but it was someone that was, it almost like he almost created a genius network for us as kids, which is, I think, an awesome thing to do for your kids.
You're bringing up it's making me think a lot about this stuff. So here's what's kind of going through my head right now. When I go to events, what I'm always trying to seek out, of course I want tangible things I can learn and different strategies and things, but I'm trying to get perspective. So, because oftentimes I think our limitations are based on our perspective to see a way through, a way there, a way out, that's that sort of stuff. And being exposed to opportunity thinkers, to me, and I think for most of you, is incredibly encouraging, because it's really hard to explain to someone that doesn't have that built in. Like, I'm looking at Elko as an example. Elko, you should see the way he does notes and takes notes. Fucking brilliant. And so he was on Necker Island, one of the trips, and he just mapped out like all kinds of stuff. And the question is, he probably would have to go back to his world and explain to other people, why would you spend all this money to go on a trip to Necker Island? Why do you go to these seminars? Why do you fly across? Where do you live right now? Amsterdam. Okay. So, why do you do all this stuff? And I'll tell you, like, not only does he do a lot of things to expose himself to opportunities, his business is helping other people see that, and he documents it all. So he's like, Jeff Hayes gave me a great line, which is really what I've been doing for years. He said, I record my research. When he goes and films, like, that's what I've been doing I'm recording research. I'm just trying to figure it out, and you document it. But it's that constant putting yourself. I think one of the greatest benefits of a room like this is most people here, they can come up with better ideas on their own with a napkin in a coffee shop than going to most seminars. I mean, it's self-created, but it's when you put a bunch of winners together with other winners, and you just hear, it just does something for your enthusiasm, for your perspective, and seeing, and when you expose kids to that, because I had a terrible childhood, but what I did have is the ability to read books. And the books gave me a possible vision, and I ended up living into that vision in spite of the complete insanity of so much of the stuff. So maybe we don't say it enough, but bring your kids. Bring people here. Once a year you can bring a young person to Genius Network and expose them to this, because we've dozens of young people that their lives have been changed. So since we handed you the mic, Elko, what is your formula? How do you think about this stuff? Because you recently, thank you, have just renewed again for 100K, which is awesome, because you're such a great contributor to stuff. How do you do what you do?
Hey, I hope you're enjoying this video, and I want to let you know that I have a new book that's come out, and if you'd like to get it absolutely free, there's a link below in the description, or you can wait till the end of this video, or you can simply go to joesfreebook.com and you can get a copy there.
Yeah, so if people ask me what I do, I would say I'm a mentor for entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that for a while. I'm also building businesses, but what I really, really love is I love entrepreneurs. I like business. Business is cool, but entrepreneurs that's what I really love. And even like this, like I already got like this great insight. I got 3 kids. We just spent a month in Bali and Australia, which was amazing. And what you said is like he almost created a genius network for us. It's like, wow, that's so powerful. And so I don't know, like I really like being in environments of people that are like-minded and have a growth mindset. And just this one idea already, like if I had to leave right now, it's like, that's something that I would love to implement. I do that a lot with my kids.
Yeah.
But this is just a new idea, so thank you. Yeah.
I'm assuming that you're going to do what you normally do at the meetings, and you're going to write down insights and things like that.
Maybe.
Yeah. If you do, I would love at the end of this to have you kind of share some of the key insights, because he's really good. And by the way, like what we've been doing, and I want to thank Parth for this, because it's really, we take everything that's discussed. We have these great AI summaries. The people that actually go through them love it. They just think it's, I've had several people be like, I've never been to a meeting where there's a better organization categorization of ideas and thoughts, and that's being done, but I think some of you may not even really look at it after the meeting. So we will hand these out during the 10-minute talks. Every time someone gives a 10-minute talk, there will be a summary of the key points, the ideas, the insights. That'll all be documented for you, and you all have it available. And that's just it. But you're not really here for just the content. You're here for the connections, and you're here for the people and the relationship, and you're really here for yourself and to what you're going to get out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think with meetings like this, it's great to really search for the gold. And like it's something that she just said, like it's easy to like, yeah, that's cool idea, but really be present with whatever people share, and you'll get out of meetings like this so much more if you're like really present with what's presented or the people around you, instead of thinking like, I know this, or I heard that before, or whatever, or same joke from Joe, or whatever. It's so I think presence with meetings like this is everything.
Yeah.
I like in life itself is everything, being present. But
how many of you have your clients that their number one excuse as to why they can't do something is they're like, Dan, I used to have a conversation with Dan Kennedy about this all the time. Do you know what I'm going to say? But my clients are different. But my business is different. Yeah, right? How many of you, they say that to you? And here's the thing, though. Everyone thinks that. You're like, well, if I'm not getting something out of Genius Network, it's because my business is different, or you don't really quite understand my clients, or I'm kind of above that, or that's not really, I'm already kind of been there. And it's like this weird, and you hear it everywhere. You hear it in 12-step groups with the reason that I can't, it's like, it's just this constant excuse that the brain uses as a defense mechanism as to why you can't do what you do. Can we throw Brian right here to...
That's why hot seats, and we do them here in small groups.
Yeah.
But a real hot seat is like, you got to tell people they have spinach in their teeth. And so we do this, like in my mastermind, we always are, because everybody has the same excuse, I don't know how to start my business, I don't know how to get going, my business is different, all of that. And I got to tell you, if you do a hot seat with people where love never leaves the room, you have to do a hot seat, and we do hot seats with 40 people or 60 people on a screen.
Right.
And if they're going to be vulnerable, it's not, and it makes such a difference when the people who are contributing aren't contributing to show them up. They're not contributing to, but they're basically trying to help them.
Right.
And it's like you don't want to be around sycophants all the time.
Yeah.
So it's just it made me think that every time that comes up, I always interrupt the person. I mean, I'm kind of rude. I'm a rude person.
You're very.
But I always interrupt them on the screen, and I say, your business is not different. And so who else I can just go after them, but I let the group go after them in a positive way with love and seriousness, and but without making them wrong.
Right.
And that's the thing. Once you confront somebody who feels that way, if they're not open to it, the hot seat will never work. But a hot seat that works like that is just. John Carlton was the most amazing coordinator of hot seats, because he just told you are so full of shit, and you think he's like hating you, but that's just his style, and you have to like put that aside. You are full of shit, and now listen to what he has to say, because he's got decades of experience.
Yeah.
It's again obvious, but I think it's really important when people do say that, call them on it, especially if you care about them and love them and want to help them.
Yeah. Can you hand it to Devin right next to you?
Yeah. I think, as a new Genius member network members, like my man from Amsterdam said, I also think, Joe, you made a good point. When you go in new rooms, you don't have a thought like you've graduated. Right? Don't graduate, right? Because that's where the danger happens.
Totally.
And I also think there's a type of listening that you can actually train yourself to have, right? There's like, I take the flights a lot, and there's flight attendant listening, right? I'm watching TV, right? I'm reading the book, and then all of a sudden that announcement comes off, and I look around, people like, oh, right? Because they're like, what? I heard this before.
Yeah.
So if you have a listening like, I heard this before, what do? You tune out. But once I was on a flight, and it was like doing a dovetail, and the pilot came on and said, I have an announcement. We're going in for an emergency. You think the listening was different for the pilot? Right? Because the listening was now life or death.
Right.
Right? So when you go in, for me, it's like, do we train on listening? It's not, this isn't life or death, but this is your life.
Yeah.
So can you come in the room and listen for a perspective like a pilot listening instead of the flight attendant?
Totally. It's, you know, and there are times where I am constantly put in situations where someone is sharing with me what they think to be like a great marketing idea. Shit that I've done 1,000 times 20 years ago. And they're like presenting it to me as if like, and there's a part of me, like that's the ego, right? That's like, oh, I kind of know that. And you know, like start with the beginner's mind. You know, they're coming at it from a place of good intention. This is new to them. Don't squash their enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Don't try to one up them. Let them frickin', you know, and I'll tell you, I think it's one of the things that helps me be mostly, not all the time, because I certainly rub some people the wrong way, to be, you know, relational with people.
100%. And that's what's so powerful about who you are, right? Because there's an old quote, it's like the only difference between the master and the student is the master knows that he's always a student.
Yeah, exactly,
Right?
exactly. Yeah, start with the beginner's mind. It's so good. Okay, so since you have the mic, what was the thing you wrote down as wave a magic wand, Devin?
Wave the magic wand. First was I will give the most valuable, generous, and fun 10-minute talk in Genius history. Number two is I will help at least 2 people. And number 3, I will see a new possibility in my life and business that wasn't present at 8:59.
I love it. That is really good. That's really awesome. 2 of them all about being of service to other people, which is fantastic. Yeah, you know, because it's weird. We have a new 100K member named Dale, and he had sent a message. Hello, Deborah and Michael Burnoff. The Michael Burnoff. Not the. Good to have you guys here. It's always the people that are local that are late. You know, it's always, okay. No, he just got done finishing a big event, right? So.
One this morning, and then kids.
Kids, yeah. We were talking about kids earlier. So, all right. What the hell was I just saying? Someone.
Dale will.
What?
Dale will.
Dale, yeah. So he sends a message like on Genius Mornings to me privately. Like, you know, I'm so happy to be in 100K. I've gotten so much out of it so far. You know, I hasn't even been to a meeting yet. And just super appreciative. It made me think like, because like any business, we have people that will say, well, it's not this, it's not this, it's not this. And one of the things I'm going to ask you guys later of what is it we do, what is it that we don't do, what is it you want it to do, right? And I'm going to phrase it differently. But what I realize is that, you know, the ethos of this group is really fantastic. I mean, I'm biased, of course, because you know, it's my company, it's my group. The people though in it are genuinely amazing. Like it even surprises me how awesome you guys are, how awesome our clients are. For the most part, this is the best year, and it keeps getting better and better. And we've been at it for 2007, trying to curate a culture and an environment, and it's way beyond me because I am like distractible and I'm terrible at details, and like we've been getting so many great compliments about the team and about how helpful the team is. And you know, we got several messages which I share with the team. By the way, it's Mike Dudley's birthday today, by the way, too. So, don't give him any candy, because when people send candy and shit, he eats it all before everyone else, so he's very selfish that way. But on his birthday, though, you can give him candy if you want.
It is my brother and sister's birthday, too, so that's
Yeah.
3 of us. We're
Triplets. Yeah, and see Mike in the middle. He looked like a girl back as. Yeah, it's very. No, I'm kidding. That's awesome. That is awesome. So.
He's on the right. Right?
Oh, sorry.
Tell us which one you are.
We'll just indulge this moment here.
I can see it in his eyes. It's the right.
Yeah. There you go.
That's precious.
So what the? I'm totally getting thrown off. So.
I can't believe you're distracted.
distracted, Joe.
Yeah. What, is that a blue train, a red train, a yellow train? Yeah, I don't know. So the thing is like I often wonder, like, if you're having a bad day, we could have the greatest meeting ever for one person, and another person be like, that meeting sort of sucked. And I constantly think, you know, you can't please everybody. There's always going to be 10-minute talks that are totally what one person really wanted and needed to hear, and someone's like, I have no idea how the hell this applies to me. But at the same time, as a whole, you know, I've been having this ongoing discussion with Dean Jackson. Is Dean on right now?
No.
Okay, I think Dean will be on later. And I said, Dean, I'm going to meet up with Dean in Toronto. I fly to Toronto on Saturday, like literally the day right after this meeting ends on Friday. The next day I'm going to fly to Toronto. I'm going to meet up with JR. I'm going to meet up with Evan Carmichael. I'm going to meet up with Dean. Then I'm going to go to Strategic Coach for a day. And then I fly back on one of our 100K members, thank God, his private plane back to Arizona. And then I'm going to have a meeting with Bobby Kennedy before he starts a big event Tuesday night. And then at 7 in the morning, I'm on a plane to Austin, Texas to Dave Asprey, who's going to interview me at his event in Austin. And I said to Dean, I go, you know, for next year, I want to design like a monthly training on marketing for our Genius Network members. And I want to put this thing together because we have all of this stuff and it's available and it's recorded, but I don't think people quite understand what we have put together, and I need it to be more clear, right? I need it to be more clear. And I go, and there's all this cool stuff about Genius Network. I mean, for the most part, people in the meetings love the meetings. And then when the meetings are done, if there's they get seduced, they get business, they get life, things happen. And I'm like, okay, I want to get really clear, like, what the heck do we actually do here, so that because if you go to try to explain, I have my own opinions of, but I was saying to Eunice, you know, over the last couple of days, I go, if we were to ask all of our team members, what is Genius Network and what does it do, everyone would give a different answer. And our members would all give different answers because it's different things to different people. So I go, there needs to be a part of it just for the front stage that's like, this is what it is, this is what it's not. We all need to be crystal clear on that. And we just deliver on that as best we can. And whatever someone's goals, ambitions, dreams, if we can help them come to fruition within the group, we will do that. We will set up the set and setting as best as we can, you know, to use the Timothy Leary line, which was originally used for psychedelics in the 50s, but set and setting, the mindset and the setting in order to create what it is we want. And then the other magic that happens that I don't know how to put language to, that I don't know how to explain, that'll just kind of be a bonus. And then I realized that's what every business kind of needs. Because I was talking to Dean, and it's like everyone goes through this stuff. He has these breakthrough blueprints where people are like, what is your business? It's this, it's this, it's this, I don't really know. And since Michael is a master of language, he's going to give a 10-minute talk on that. With what I'm saying, what the hell did you hear me just say? And how do you think about describing your business? Because you have all these people that come to your events, they're all trying to up level their life, get to a bigger goal, get to a bigger dream, and you help them rewire their perception, their thinking, their actions, their behavior. Like, what did you hear me say?
Well, what I heard you say is that Genius Network means different things to different people, correct?
Yep.
And that if everybody's talking about something different, it means something different to them, it's probably confusing.
Yep.
And if it could be clear and everyone understood what Genius Network did from them, they could actually get more out of it.
Yep.
And if they got more out of it, they'd stick around longer, they'd be more valuable, and we could actually be more valuable to the community. So if we actually took a few minutes and actually figured out what we were actually doing here and used the language to explain it correctly to ourselves and others, we could be valuable to each other.
Right.
That's what you said.
Did you see what he just did? Yeah. He just fed back exactly to me what I said, but did it in an authoritative, confident manner. But it was very simple. It took frickin' a minute, and it was very clear. And that's why people go to Michael, because it helps them get clarity on stuff. Yeah. That was great. Thank you.
I appreciate it. And I heard like 90% of what you said, and the 10% I didn't hear, I got sent through telepathic Joe motions.
Right. No. But it's really good. But here's the thing, though. left to our own devices, it's hard to do this. It's easier to deal with other people's marketing issues, organizational issues, relationship issues than deal with your own. And that's why sounding boards are really important. And so I always think of Genius Network as a sounding board. And if you're going to have a sound, like a lot of people's sounding boards are their families or their friends or a bunch of losers. And some people, if their life is really struggling, every night there are millions of people throughout the world that will go to bars and they will get inebriated and they're in pain, and they will talk to another person getting inebriated about how to figure out life. And by the way, sometimes you actually get some good insight, and you're like, you know, it's amazing what inebriation and intoxication can actually do for some people, but it ain't the best sounding board. You know, it's kind of hit or miss, and oftentimes it could be very damaging. And so anyway, that's my short way of saying that. We're here for different reasons, but we're also here for many of the same.
Okay, I hope you found that video awesome and useful. So if you want to get a free copy of my book, I want you to click here. And if you want to watch some more videos that'll be useful and awesome, click here. Go ahead. They're over here. Do it now. Come on. Thank you. Watch them.